We've all heard fairy tales of the old woman or the witch who lives in the woods and eats children. She's hideous. She has ridges and craters on her face, a large nose, squinty eyes, long, white, knotted hair covering her face. She's hunched over. She lives alone. She has knowledge of the natural world, and she can conjure magic. She can see the future. But most of all, we are all warned not to approach her and to leave her isolated in the woods. We're all warned to be fearful of her. This is Soul Mechanics, practical tune-ups to be a healthy human, and I'm your host, Kate Foley. These stories represent cultural beliefs. There's always a segment of truth to a myth or a fairy tale. Just because they're fictitious stories doesn't mean that there is no truth in them. It's usually the subtle implication of a story that is most powerful. The subtlety moves into the subconscious like a slow-moving fog. You don't see it slip in through the screen of the open window. As with the story of the old witch in the woods who eats children. The witch is the woman with knowledge of the natural world. The woman who collaborates with silence, the seasons, the moon, stones, herbs, and animals for healing and insight. Her knowledge and wisdom comes with a price: youth. Yes, she does eat children. She eats maidens. Every maiden, if she lives long enough, becomes a wise old woman. Wisdom eats the young. Wisdom eventually comes for us all. Who am I describing? I'm describing the archetype of the crone. I've been in hand-to-hand combat with my crone for about 5 years. I see the physical changes. I feel the weight of fatigue. The skin on my hands is thin and veiny. My mouth slumps into a frown when I'm relaxed. My suspicious smirk takes a lot more effort than it used to. I look in the mirror and I think, oh my God, my face is falling. I can't stay up late anymore, but I can't sleep anymore. The insomnia is crushing and very lonely. However, being wide awake during that liminal time is opening something in me, something deeper, something mysterious. All conventional advice tells me to be asleep. Something is very wrong. Drug yourself, blah, blah, blah. But the iconoclast in me is saying, why? When I stop fighting the insomnia, when I stop thinking about all the societal shoulds and should nots, when I surrender to this occurrence, I sense a deeper conversation happening. I sense the noumena of my life showing its face. When I'm in bed and in that twilight state, I can hear my crone saying, "You are mine." This is inevitable. I don't think integrating the crone is about surrendering to wrinkles necessarily. To each her own, I say. But even if you still want a plump face and a toned body, I think she's teaching us to embrace and support the old, the wise, the experienced, to change our concept of fearing age. We're so entrained to think that new is better. But it isn't the outside or the shell that shows us the crone. The crone is inside. The crone is like a glacier, moving slowly but unrelenting. She forces us to laugh at ourselves. She is merciless and hilarious. The integrated crone is sensual and full of life, full of experience and heart. She knows knowledge is temporary and wisdom is eternal. She knows the outside weathers over time, but the inner light burns brightly the more it is fed. I have a friend whose parents are in love. After 50 plus years, they're still in love. Her mother is the embodiment of the integrated crone. She's sensual, honest, smart as a whip, discerning, passive, and commanding. She walks around with a curious look on her face, as if she knows something eluding everyone else. She'll tell people exactly what she thinks if asked, because she has the confidence and the self-knowledge to know that her honesty comes from her own truth. She's a very sexy woman because of this. Yes, she's had health scares. She's had many challenges. But she doesn't allow any of this to interfere with how she esteems herself. She still dances. She still finds a way to laugh at life. She's a beautiful example of a woman who embraces her crone. We do not have to be fearful of the changes we see in our bodies and in our aging relationships. We can work with them. But most of the time, we need to slow down. Slowing down does not mean resignation, though, and it certainly doesn't mean we're succumbing to darkness or decrepitude. We are all on journeys toward our divinity. This takes a lot of wisdom. Wisdom typically comes with stepping back rather than stepping up. Wisdom is in living in spirals versus living in squares. You're still nurturing the same garden. You just need to grow more perennials and annuals. Wear a big hat. Sit and stare at the sky. Admire what you've already planted. Allow the deer to graze and the groundhog to dig. We spend so much time fighting Mother Nature, trying to control her, or exerting our wills on her. But in the end, she will always win. Why not work parallel to her, rather than against her? This is Kate Foley. Thank you for listening.